Thank you. Nate needs one now. I got one. Nate needs one. I told y'all they weren't a 16 seed, right? Everybody really clear on that. This was a team that, man, when you look at them on film, you knew it was going to be 44 plus or 40 minutes plus, and it took 44 tonight. I thought they really took it to us, did some things early that got us uncomfortable, but I thought we regrouped, and, boy, we finished really, really strongly.
Just talk about what Chelsea's able to do for you. I mean, in key situations, you get into the ball, and she's scoring, getting to the foul line or both.
Yeah, that makes you sleep really good at night when you know you don't have to be some X and O's guru genius. Let's move some people around a little bit. Let's put the other shooters in the right spots. Let's move those pieces around, and then, good luck Gardner. She's prototypical for like how we try to play and move people around and match up. And when you got Kiera Williams and Taylor Thomas, who I don't talk about enough, setting the tone, running the floor from the first possession of the game to the last possession of the game, it has a compounding effect that helps us win and opens up those driving lanes more. Allowed us to survive 18 turnovers, but I think this team for a long period of the year led the country in forcing them. So I don't know. I still, it's kind of like last week. I don't really know how it all unfolded down there when we were down, but I know our kids were very calm and very clutch.
Nobody could really get any separation
in
regulation. What got you guys going to where you got a cushion in overtime?
I thought the and one when Chelsea drove it in there and it was a bang-bang call, could have been her fifth foul, could have been, and it ends up being an and one. And then we get a stop on the other, a big rebound. So I thought once we did get a little separation, their shots became a little bit more rushed. We went to the zone to make them take a little bit more time, and I felt like they had to make the extra pass. And the simplest thing was get back in transition. I thought they took it at us late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, and we didn't respond very well. But we got that solved, and that to me was the big key.
You guys, I guess, took 19 more free throws, hit 17 more. How big was that?
It's what we do, free throws, layups, and threes in that order. I love free throws. I like layups. We'll settle for threes. But I think you have to play in attack mode, and I think over time it got them in foul trouble. It got them passive, made them change defenses. He doesn't like to play zone. He that's not what he wants to do, and it forced him to that. And then I thought that allowed us to kind of manage the clock a little bit.
You talked about you called 2 timeouts in a row there.
Yeah.
Did you not like what you saw the first time, or what was going on?
We didn't have Kiera in the game, and I wasn't sure. I did want to see what they were in. They'd been changing defenses on us, so Coach Kevin McGuff, who I worked with at Xavier and at Washington, always said in that situation, run something that's going to work against either. So it was better for Kiera to be in the game. So we had conserved our timeouts. So I felt like it was more important to get a good shot than it was and have the right personnel in than have an extra timeout at the end of the game.
What was the key to the stop at the end of regulation? I thought they'd go inside and try to get some offensive boards, but you made them take a tough three. What was the key to that defense?
That little zone, we switched the ball screen at the top, even in zone. We call it a fly switch. And I thought Mal, and I think it was Raven at that point in time. I'd have to go back and look. But Raven's really plays hard. Sometimes she's not in the right spot, and she'll be the first one to tell you that. But she's going to be playing hard. And I thought we had a really good closeout. And Bailey was in the game too. And Bailey's length is a little different than having Jalen or one of those guys close out there. So I think our kids were really in that timeout when we said we need to stop. We thought about going 5, and Coach Schaefer and I, thought it might take them a little bit longer. We'd switch screens, and Jalen Mason snapped back at us as fast as you could expect and said, "No, we're in 2." And you listen to a kid like that.
I know Chelsea, she scores a lot all the time, but tonight, a lot of clutch plays. What'd you think of her game?
She's just a killer. That killer gene, there's a lot of big-time scorers that don't have the killer gene. But she's got that get me the ball, that Jimmy Chitwood gene, or whoever we want to reference. I love movies. I think if I'd have drawn a play up for anybody else, they'd all stood up and looked at me, and, she'd said, "I'll make it." That's just who she is. I go back to us sitting in that conference room upstairs when she was thinking about transferring, and she had a visit the very next day to Ohio State and one to Florida State the next day, and just the conversation that we talked about of what we felt like she could become here, and she has exceeded those expectations. She has really, really become a great teammate and a dynamic offensive and a good defensive player as well. Did
Mason not stop 2 fast breaks in a row, kind of, poking at the ball? I think she was called traveling on one of them.
Clutch. She's the best get-back talker I've ever coached. That is a skill to be able to point in the right direction and get people and then fly to that gap. And those were massive because we smoked 2 layups in a row, didn't we? I mean, absolutely smoked them. And that could have been a dagger because you just, your energy could have gone. But I thought we were tough in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, into the fourth quarter and overtime. We were just really, really tough.
One thing, any thoughts when Dungy picked up that tough charge in the third foul? Anything thoughts of taking her out?
No. And that's when we started going offense, defense. I read a study. It was done by a friend of ours on taking people out with 2 fouls and 3 fouls and 4 fouls. And more often than not, you lose the game in the time that those kids are sitting over there with you. We told her to play smartly. And I told her to come to jump stops, and which she didn't do on that one play, but we got a break. But she's gotten to where she understands how to play with them. If we'd had to play another overtime, I'm sure they were going to start. They didn't start going at her. I thought they would really maybe try to isolate her at the elbow with Hawkins, who had some size, or Barnes, who had a great game. They had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 6 people in double figures. That's they're not, like I told y'all. They're not you have to guard every single person they have, and I just think that was a really good win for us.
Maybe you guys weren't yourselves for a lot of the game, and big relief to get the second chance. I mean, did you just kind of feel relieved after that, or what's your emotions?
Yeah, relieved. The emotions of last week, when you get as close as we got to making the NCAA tournament and you hear from the people that were in the room when it happened, that's a Hamilton reference, by the way, right there, for y'all. How close we were to being in the NCAA tournament. It's impossible to move on. It's just impossible. But I think our kids helped us as coaches move on and stop worrying about it and not get engaged in whether it was we should have been in or not. Let's focus on the tournament we're in. This group is really proud to be playing in the NIT. Not all teams do that. A lot of people decline the bid, because of that. But our kids really embraced it, and it's just fun to get to coach them again.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.